technically they should hit a top here and then go the other way, or they're going to explode higher.
Wake up.
What a wonderful way to start the Wake Up Real Estate Show. Really, Ryan talking about charts and topping and rates blowing up or going down or whatever. You're reveling.
They just keep going up.
Reveling way too much in that. It's Thursday, so it's Tech Tip Thursday. We've got a very special guest. I'm very excited to learn from and get some more information and details on what they're doing, what they're offering, and what that all looks like. If you're new to the show, where have you been? We've been doing this for longer than Ryan and I have done anything, even though we disappear at times. But please like, comment, subscribe, share. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever, please subscribe, rate, and review there. Our download count last week, Ryan, was an all-time record, and we weren't even here. Maybe that's the trick. We just need to not show up.
Don't show up.
So Tech Tip Thursday, we're going to get into that. Ryan, do you have anything? We want to maximize our time here with Ben. Do you have anything real quick for the good people here that we should dig into?
Only thing I'll mention is that Just Listed, Just Sold is ready to go and live and kicking and finally working right. So check that out. But go ahead.
I'm going to plug one thing, and it's free. Yesterday, we did our first Wednesday 1 o'clock mastermind workshop, boot camp, whatever you want to call it, where we were actually doing work. And live on Zoom while we were there, we generated like 9 seller appointments for one of my agents who is dual licensed in Ohio and Kentucky. And I don't know how many, 7, 8, 10 phone call appointments from my own database. We covered 3 different scripts, one that you can use with home sellers, home value type leads, one you can use with inactive or quote unquote dead leads, and one you can use for active leads that are actively coming back to your site, looking at properties, engaging with you in some form or fashion. It was really good. Mark, where is that recording? I couldn't make it. Mark, I will send you a link. It's in the EXP Workplace, and we have it behind a wall, mainly because there was consumer
YouTube ripped
data.
it down.
Well, it was consumer data. There was so much consumer data, name, email, phone number of people. YouTube tore it down, even though we had it as unlisted. So we put it on Vimeo and we put it behind the members area, with which, Mark, you have access to. Mark, the easy answer is just email Mike, and he'll get you the links to that. And if you're not Mark, you can still email Mike, and we can get you, a free login to check that out. But we just have to protect that because there's, like I said, there's consumer data in it. But this stuff works if you work. This stuff works if you work. That's the biggest variable. Will you work? Speaking of work, Ben is here to help us all as real estate agents work smarter, be more efficient, be more effective, and run our business like an actual business.
Like a business.
How was that for teeing it up and segue? I'm getting good at this stuff.
You are good. That was very smooth. I'm impressed.
Right on.
So
Ryan, why don't you do a proper intro, Ryan? Sorry.
Yeah. So Ben, I've been working with Ben and his team, Greg over at Agent Hub 360. They built a really cool Thanks.io integration over the past probably 6 months or so. And we got to know each other a little better. And the more I found out about what Ben and Greg are doing over there at Agent Hub 360, the more interested I'm continuing to become. And I'm starting to think that maybe I need to get on the horse myself. Josh, you might conclude that yourself. But I'm going to sum up the way I understand Agent Hub 360 really quick, Ben, and then I'll let you kind of explain. What I'm seeing is you guys do have some cool tech in the spirit of Tech Tip Thursday, the different stuff they have into kind of a cohesive thing. But more importantly, you help solo agents and I think maybe teams build out their business plan and their model and execute it in kind of a more organized way, like a real business person would.
Yeah.
Did I do all right?
Yeah, you did great. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Just what you said. We have agents run their business like a real business because the pieces are put together and managed for them. And the number one issue, I mean, you guys are, on the leading edge of real estate. You have been, and you continue to be. And the big issue is that the business has gotten really complex. It doesn't run like it used to anymore, except agents are running like they've always run, which is they put together everything, they do everything. We call that the chief everything officer. And we're literally about bringing in the new model of real estate, transforming how agents operate, because it's so necessary. I mean, we're about a decade behind in our industry of real estate to actually take agents from chaos and overwhelm of trying to manage and put it all together to the new era of having it put together and managed. So, we came together, we were talking about tech, and what does it mean to run like a complete business? Well, it starts with having a plan and a clear path. It's that simple, and putting it all together so agents can see, okay, so what technology pieces do they have? What do they need? And where can they cut? How does that all fit into their marketing plan? And then how does that fit into a 3-year financial plan? All those things, start them there, right?
So if I come on to, I know you guys have something called the CEO Hub, which is like your entry-level mentorship program.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at some of the bullet points. So you start by helping people build a business plan. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, a comprehensive business plan. Nobody got in this business because they want to build a business plan, but it's one of the challenges of building a business. If you don't have a plan, then you're doing business by Braille. And Jarek Robbins in Success Coaching with DXD says, it's the stupidest and most expensive way to go about building a business is doing it by trial and error. And yet every agent and every team has basically been repeating that throughout history. And we say it's time for that to change and really step into a new way of having it all put together.
So what's in the plan? What you don't have to give the whole thing, but what are the different things that we are planning for components?
Sure. Well, and simply, I want to make sure nobody falls asleep here, is that the plan just makes everything clear. It really empowers people. And it's pretty simple, especially since we guide them through that whole process. But starting with the gaps in their business and discussing the technology pieces. So in the tech stack, we connected because of Thanks.io. We advise on tech stack, starting with the foundation of their business, their CRM. And we say, by the way, the best thing for them to do is not use their CRM, have it be managed for them. That's the number one thing, because agents didn't get into the business. We didn't get into the business to manage details and data. So take that off the agent's shoulders. So start with a clear tech stack plan of their CRM, their website, their buyer search, their listing marketing, other lead gen, mass communications, and then things like those personal touches for Thanks.io. That when you connect all those pieces together, really have a massive impact. So start with that clarity. Start with then the second would be around their marketing, which is where most agents begin, is just start marketing, and hoping it all comes together. But have that be part of something much greater. And that it all intelligently fits together. Most agents, when they're putting together the business plan, when we're doing it with them, cut at least $500. There's a little video there. I think you're probably going to flip over there, but there's a quick video by a couple of guys that got their business plan done in the first week, and they cut $1,700 off their budget, because now it all fits in. They understand. They have more control. They're clear.
So the tech stack is a component of your business plan. What tools are you using? In the process of identifying that, you figure out that you have some things you shouldn't be paying for. I think all of us fit in that category, Josh.
Sure.
Yeah. Then you're doing marketing and lead generation would probably be one lump. So you come up with a plan for that.
Yep. And have that all fit into, so it reflects the agent. What is it they're after? Also, one of the key things that agents, generally, if they've been in the business for a little while, what's the transition plan to go from being in production to going to passive income? The progression of having their business, the whole point of being in this business is that it serves a great life for you. It provides the foundation for you to grow and expand, and that your business.
For most people, it just turns into a job. I feel like that's where I was 10 years ago. It just becomes this job that you have to work 12 hours a day.
Yeah, which is kind of a four-letter word, isn't it? We got into the real estate because we saw bigger possibilities. And yet it's the running the business side that really needs to be now taken off the shoulders of the agent. It's those components that you're leading into, which is take it out of the job side, because that's why agents are relegated to being on the treadmill, because the whole industry, both the coaching, the structure, everything is about get some more transactions. And yet, even if you're doing the 50, 60 transactions a year that a lot of agents say, yeah, I'd love to have, you wonder, how am I ever going to stop this, right? Because they don't have the structure. And if they do stop, it all comes apart. And so you're left in between with a scenario that's worse than a job, because you end up with, at the end of your career, very little to show for it other than 800, 1,000, 1,200 transactions. Right? How do we change that trajectory? That's really what we've been after and evolving for the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, I should mention, you guys have been in business a long time in this
Yeah.
business, quietly.
Quietly. And the industry has continued to evolve. I mean, what we were doing 10, 12 years ago as an alternative structure for the traditional team, what was needed then compared to what's needed now has changed entirely. And that's why this is a very customized approach, so that individual agents can operate like a complete business and have the guidance, the expert guidance and support along the way.
So Josh comes to you now. Josh, you have a buyer's agent and an assistant basically in your practice, right? Josh comes to you tomorrow and he's like, help me do the plan or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What is an agent experience with you guys, in the first few weeks?
Yeah, so the first thing we'd say is, listen, we've chunked this down so it's as simple as possible, and don't get all bogged into how it all gets put together. I mean, your business plan will lay out very simply, but it would start with just joining the CEO Hub, which you guys make extra easy because of your $50 off gift code that you have.
I haven't told anybody, yeah.
That's all right. That basically Josh would join the CEO Hub. We say, come in for a month, get a plan, and let's lay out a clear path for you. And that's it. It starts with a 4-hour workshop, an orientation, and some key education about how the industry operates, things you need to be aware of, and then how to step forward. And then we offer 21 hours of group coaching that's optional. You drop in when it works for you, for us to work with you on the process of getting it all clear. It doesn't have to be hard, but one of the key things is not to do this alone. I mean, I think that's been one of our key internal mantras is you're no longer doing it alone, because
So
that's
the actual CEO Hub, I guess, yeah, to answer my own question, I'll drill into these bullet points here, right?
Okay.
This is what
I
it
get
is.
my glasses on for that.
So a gap diagnostic.
Yep.
What's that mean? I have no idea.
Yeah, good question. Well, I mean, there's lots of gaps. It's discussing, on a very high level, what's happening in your business. There's some specifics that are gone through, and I won't dive too deep for the sake of getting too detailed here. But the next one, lead gen analysis, tech stack analysis, a marketing plan. Then
Human resource plan, is that the people who work on your team or?
Yeah, and the key here where we really are leaning into is how do we get agents free? And how you get them free is having a structure so they can delegate. And one of the key things we do is make it possible for an agent in a fully structured business to delegate more than half of the things, that tasks and things that they're trying to do so that their business runs. And that can be taken care of by a whole team once your business is structured. And so the human resources plan just talks about some of those components. You're aware of what they are, but you don't have to deal with all the hiring and managing of those people.
Okay. I find it interesting. You have a wellness plan in there, which is great. So
yeah.
I assume that means sleep and eat right.
Yes. I know you guys are healthy.
Is pumping and prospecting and fitness and follow-up. Those are two of our, my mantras.
I love it. We might turn your version of prospecting on its ear a little bit, and we could dig into that again. I was saying you should have Greg on as another guest, our CEO, who is director of IT for a Fortune 500 company, and talks about people, process, and technology all woven together. One of the key things is putting agents out front of their business and so that they can be with the people and building relationships, but starting from the place of speaking to the people who want to speak to them. And the structure of their business and the follow-up and the human resources that are in their business take care of a majority of the other things so that they can really start at that place. speaking to new people that I've already been spoken to and now want to speak to you, Josh. Connecting and reconnecting with people in your sphere of influence and past clients, and maintaining that human-to-human contact. So the prospecting is different in our world because of eliminating the things, and we say, as part of our trainings that we've done in 21 states across EXP, actually, we say that agents should no longer be the first responder to online leads.
Yeah.
That is a horrific waste of energy and time that yields almost nothing for them for the most part.
Ben, you might not have caught it, but Josh does his lead follow-up and lead generation between sets of his
I did catch that.
At 5 a.m. So that's the wellness.
All right. So we got to bring in some of Josh into the hub, I guess. We're going to have a Josh mastery class on wellness. What did you say, Josh? What were those components?
Well, Tuesdays are for pumping and prospecting, pumping iron and prospecting, and Fridays are fitness and follow-up.
Absolutely. Okay, good. I'm in. Sign me up.
So,
yep.
So a 3-year financial forecast, I can't imagine this as an agent.
No.
I can't even wrap my head around that. How can you forecast where a real estate business is going to be in the next 3 years? Because you have the market itself, the broader macroeconomic stuff and all the stuff that can happen.
Yeah.
So what goes into that?
Yeah, well, a bunch of things. But it first starts with looking at what it is you're trying to get to. Because most agents are splattering money and marketing and, someday later it'll all work itself out and make sense. But if I spend enough money here and take enough of this and that and do videos there, and somehow I'm going to get business, and then I'll figure out a VA and everything else. And it never quite gets there, does it? And so this 3-year financial forecast is taking into consideration all the things you're spending. We talk about being between 25 to 30%. Expense to income ratio. And really looking at where that is. There's one example, one of our agents said, I just cut my expenses from 64% of income down to 31%. And it's really being able, that's what brings the relief, is when you start to see all these things become simplified and it all fits into something that you understand, as opposed to being this discombobulated, disconnected, unintegrated mess, which is where most businesses
If you're doing 4 transactions a month, but you cut your expenses in half from 64 to 31, you only need to do roughly 3 transactions to make the same money.
Sure. Perfectly put. As we're getting to this, there you go, the expense to income analysis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that financial forecast. And then that one is the place, I think, where agents really start to see, okay, we name this a CEO hub because it's critical that agents operate. Part of our training is about the 3 levels of business. I don't want to get into this, but the 3rd level of business is operating from the place of why you're doing what you're doing and how you're going to get, and the plan to get there, right? And so starting with that vision, as opposed to someday it'll come about, which is the old model, is actually start with that clarity. And now production to passive income, most agents, it's a hope and a prayer, right? Even in great forward-thinking brokerages, it still is something that's very elusive for them. So actually having that be part of the structure of how their business is put together. What's the direction? Yeah.
Not to put you too much on the spot. If I pay attention and I stay committed to the program, how fast can I go from production to passive?
Yeah, terrific question. Do you mind if I kind of answer it and kind of don't? It can happen much faster than you think. It depends entirely on 2 things. One is what you got going now, right? So are you starting from a dead stop and there's no momentum to your business? Are you in a place where you've got a rich database, you're masterful in your craft, and so where are you in the business at this moment? It really matters, because then what does it take to get to a place where the business is building on itself? I can't answer that for you, so I don't know what the time frame is. The other piece is your willingness to make the shift, because we're talking about shifting to a whole nother way of operating. And that's a mindset element, but we help tremendously in that. So, I think the production of passive income is a broad conversation, very unique for you as an individual. But I think it can happen much faster. And the last thing I'll say is that the fulfillment for us as agents, but as human beings, is when we see that we're actually making progress and we're achieving towards something that we really want. And that's the place where this part of the plan really comes in, and you see where you are, and you can also make course corrections to that. And that's what we help magnificently, because we're managing all the information. So we can meet and do course corrections with you on what's happening in the business mentorship that continues.
Great. I like LIT. I like the acronym. Do not do list. We don't need to go through every one of these, but I think everybody's getting the idea that most of us operate just like, where's the next lead coming from, and what fire do I need to put out today?
Yep.
To make sure that the next check comes in, right?
Yeah.
But then there's all this other stuff if you want to act like a real CEO and really build a real business that Agent Hub is helping with.
Well, that's the point, is that there's really three types of income. There's the income of money coming in right now, which is no matter how many years an agent's been in business, almost the majority of the agents today, one that we worked with in the business over 30 years, did 1,400 transactions. And she said, I'm too good of an agent to have a business that looks like mine does, because she can't see more than 3-4 months into the future, even after 30 years and 1,000+ clients she served, right? There's no ability to get to the next level of income, which is where it's the work that you put in the past, building more business in the future for you, 1, 3, 5 years out. And that's purely because of trying to put this together on your own. And you can't today, essentially, is a message. No longer do this on your own, so that you get to that second level of income, which is your business is building and going beyond, because the gaps are closed. That's where that gap starts. So
there's too many pieces. But most agents don't have the kind of business know-how, so they kind of need to be introduced to that.
Yep.
What the actual tech, you hinted that you guys do some stuff for your clients.
Yeah.
So you actually run the CRM, or you do the lead follow-up? Do you want to get a little bit into that stuff?
Sure. It goes, and I want to make sure that people that are in this conversation, let's not get too far so that you get overwhelmed. Let's make it real simple. Start with your plan and let's lay out a path. And that will show you the next things, because the step-by-step progression that we've worked on and developed for years starts you there. And then when your plan tells you, or you think it's the right strategic time for you, move to the next step, which is now have an operations center, integrate all of the technology into one place. Okay. And now you can begin to delegate. And you've got the foundation now to start reaching that place where business is multiplying. And then the third and final step is have a complete business, where now you've got a planning center, an operations center, and a follow-up center doing all of that together. It starts, though, once we do that tech stack plan, that's that third bullet point there is, okay, so let's look at taking all of your data and let's put it all into one place now. And what we said, and I stated earlier, is the best CRM is
one you use.
Yeah, but no one's using it, right? And the statistics prove that no matter how good the technology is, and we've had meetings with some of the leaders in the industry saying you could double down and you're offering the next Uberist version of that all-in-one, and it's not going to help because agents aren't going to really use it. They can't. It's too much. It's all falling on their shoulders. So we start with managing that database and integrating it from all the sources, whatever your past CRM is and your lead gen sources, everything coming into one place. That's really the foundation piece. And then integrating your website and the buyer search that's on that website into the operations center, and then your homeowner market report and your listing marketing, so that at a click of a button, literally in the span of about a minute, you can delegate out having your single property website set up, your online marketing, your print marketing, all of that put together in the span of, for you, delegating it out in less than a minute. And then you're just approving it and it goes out. How does all of that get put together? It's integrating the tech stack and the pieces like Thanks.io, which is our top our crowning piece, which is those personal touches. Having all of those pieces integrated into one place, so now a team can do lots of things for you.
Josh, I don't know if you're aware, but what the coolest thing they built with Thanks, and we have a lot of people here who've used Thanks.io, is I think it's on the happy anniversary and on the birth date of the client, they actually send a message to the agent and say, hey, do you want to send this card now? And it's just a tap and it goes. There's no work. It's just, I want to send this guy a birthday card, and it just flies. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's why we thought that Greg initially was going to be here and show you the tap and touch feature, where it literally is that kind of thing where, because the database is managed, now when the home anniversary comes up, for instance, as you were just saying, or a birthday or a major event, 7 days before that, you'll get a notice that says, do you want to send your standard card, a custom card, a gift card, or nothing? And you can literally just with your phone, boom, 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 tap and touch those people, and do that with hundreds of people over the year without the effort, where it usually breaks down. Because what are you going to do that on Saturday? You're going to stuff envelopes and write the card. It doesn't happen, right? But if we can facilitate, and we do, all of that taken off the shoulders of the agent, so now you can build relationships and do it easily. And your business structure is facilitating that, so the effort is almost non-existent. You're just getting a reminder, and you're able to do that personal thing that you want to connect with your people.
But you need the overarching plan first before you start to worry about these little tactics and strategies.
Yeah, the plan, and then the architecture that actually implements that plan, because that's really the breakdown in the industry. Terrific coaching, terrific technology, all of it pointing for the agent to do different things. And in a world of overwhelm and chaos that the agents are dealing in day to day, especially if they're doing 3, 4, 5 transactions in a month, they drop everything because it's too much. So take not only the plan, but then put together the architecture to streamline it all for them and implement it. Now they're in a very different place, and they're out front of their business. And that's where it starts to really get fun and get interesting, and you feel that progression as a professional, but also as a human being.
So the actual membership of the CEO Hub is kind of your front end product. And now I'm starting to understand why you start there, because you need to start with a plan. You can get $50 off the first month. You guys can see the code scrolling there. I'm going to sign up, Josh. You probably will too, I imagine, just so we have a better idea of what's going on. But
we'd love that.
That actual program, it sounds like it's pretty group coaching. It's kind of like recurring meetings with other people who are doing the same thing, like a mastermind. Okay.
Yep, it's usually very small groups, and it's as per your schedule. We say that we match energy for energy. If you're putting energy in, we're right there with you. And if you choose that, you're distracted doing other things and you can't show up, well, that's up to you. But for whatever, it's $95 a month, and then with your $50 off the first month, it's $45. But we just say, come for a month. It's for all agents at all levels. Even if you have a large organization, come in and get clarity. And you can see how not only you, depending on the agent level you are and business level you are, but also how does this become duplicatable? Like there is no way to duplicate the old business model that every agent operates out of. How do you give that to somebody else? Well, here's some ideas, here's some tips, here's another all-in-one technology, here's some leads. They're back to chaos again. So now when you come to the CEO Hub for a month, you can actually see farther, and for those leaders in the industry, you can actually see how they can have a structured growth of their organization intelligently.
Great. And you've been around a while. You don't have to share, but I imagine you have a fair number of case studies and people who've been through this who are doing it every day.
There are a lot of EXP icons in this, because I know that there are a number of EXP people on this, as well as Josh, and so it's agents at all levels, but really it's agents that are seeing the business and where they're headed very differently because they're operating from a new model.
Well, I'm really glad you can come today, Josh. You and I talk tactics a lot.
Right.
Like here's a specific whiz-bang thing, a tool, a strategy, and we are conscious of we know that we're just pulling people in all different directions because we're pulling ourselves in all those directions too. So it's really cool to see something like, when I saw this come up, I'm very interested in getting this perspective personally. Josh, do you have any comments, thoughts?
No, I mean, this is, I guess my only thing is this is at some point, unless you want to work like a dog until you die, you have to work on the business, not just in it, right?
Mhm.
So whether it's with what Ben is offering and we've got scrolling or whatever that looks like, you have to figure out a way sooner than later to have operating systems and to have forecasting and planning and things in place, so that it's not just you doing it. If you relate it to Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, if you don't figure that out, you are forever stuck in the employee self quadrant, and you can never move to the business owner or investor quadrant. Yeah,
I love that. Just to throw something in there is it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. A lot of agents, even some of the more successful agents right now, are a little anxious, right? Because things have shifted. As you were pointing to the rate increases, I don't know if we were actually on air at that point, but it's got people like, hey, I used to have months in advance stacked up, and now I don't know what's happening 2 months from now, right? It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. These things actually happen while your business is running. You're doing your work, and it gets simpler, not harder. You don't have to add this on top of already an overloaded schedule. It's actually going to streamline this so that what you were just saying, Josh, you're going to get to that other level of a business owner by starting at the CEO hub and actually starting soon so that you can operate from that level. And it's much simpler. We've made it as simple as possible, and hold your hand along the way if you show up.
Yeah.
Just so I know, what time of day do these sessions happen?
For you, very early. For the rest of the world, it's usually, actually during the week, they're at different times, by the way. And also we're trying to coordinate between the different time zones of the US. So,
but they're at different times, so you'll find some.
Yeah, you can find the time and the availability for you, but also there's different focuses depending on the group coaching session and what it is.
Very cool.
Awesome. Well, this was great. Lot to think about here. Definitely need to check it out. And good timing too. I mean, this is the time of the year where people should be thinking about and starting to, as crazy as it sounds, starting to plan for 2024 and what is that going to look like, and how are you going to create a more predictable, scalable, consistent business, regardless of what's going on with rates and market or whatever, right? Control what you can control, and you're in a better place against, versus those that don't, or at the whim, or more at the whim of those things that are outside of their control.
And I think it's the relief that agents get around this world of control that makes the biggest difference, because there is a sense of no matter how hard you're working, you're not really in control in this business, right? It feels like it's just, you're happy when you got a lot of transactions going, but if they slow down, you're in your head and you're self-critical. This really eliminates that, because now it's laid out, you understand your business, you're operating in a way you've always wanted to, and it starts with literally just that plan and a path, and get that done in, you can get that done in a week and a half. It doesn't have to be forever. So anyway.
Sounds
awesome.
Great.
Love you guys. I love how you think.
You've got a video on that link there. I liked your video, so you guys can watch that. Thanks for being on, Ben. I'm sure we'll be talking to you in the future as well.
It's terrific being here. No, and I really love you guys in terms of what you're doing. And what was it? Pump and Prospect? That's what I'm going to
Pump and Prospect. Yeah, that's right.
Pump and Prospect. Okay, good. I'm going to weave that in, and we'll see you guys in the CEO.
Right on.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye now.
Thanks again, Ben. Everybody, we will be live again tomorrow, same time, same place. It's Follow-Up Friday. Here's what I'll do. There's a couple of things I'm going to share, including a follow-up to Soledad's comment here that she got positive engagement from yesterday's buyer script. I'll give you all that script. We'll talk about follow-up, how you can maybe set some appointments, get some conversations going for the weekend. And who knows, we'll have other stuff too. And hopefully we'll have some good news on the rate front. We'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell.
All right.
Thanks,
See you,
all.
Ben. See you, Jack.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.